When 78-year-old Errol Musk stepped into one of South Africa's most exclusive luxury stores, he never expected the humiliation that awaited him. Dressed in simple clothes and worn-out shoes, he didn't look like the usual billionaire clientele. But what happened next would set off a chain of events that would shake the industry to its core and leave millions rethinking what true wealth really means. The golden afternoon light spilled over Cape Town's most expensive shopping street. It was a world of polished storefronts, sparkling diamonds, and whispered conversations about private jets and exotic islands. Errol Musk, father of the world's richest man, walked alone down the street, hands in his pockets. Today was his birthday, and for once he wanted to treat himself. For years, Errol had lived a simple life, avoiding the spotlight despite his son's global fame. He didn't flaunt his wealth, nor did he care for extravagant displays. But today he had one small wish: to buy a fine leather wallet, a timeless keepsake for himself. As he approached the grandest boutique in the city, the store shimmered with elegance. Tall glass windows displayed handcrafted Italian shoes, silk ties, and gold-plated accessories. The store was a landmark for royalty, CEOs, and Hollywood stars. Errol took a breath, adjusted his old jacket, and stepped toward the entrance. Just as his fingers brushed the door handle, a sharp voice stopped him. "Excuse me, sir." A tall, well-groomed manager in a sleek black suit stood in front of him. His name tag read, Leonard. He gave Errol a quick glance. His aged leather shoes, his plain shirt, his unpolished appearance, and his face tightened with disapproval. "I'm afraid we're closed for a private event today." His tone was polite, but his eyes were cold. Errol blinked in surprise. Through the glass he could see well-dressed shoppers moving around, assistants pouring champagne, and soft jazz playing in the background. The store was clearly open. "I just want to buy a wallet," Errol said calmly. The manager's lips curled into a slight smirk. "Perhaps you'd find something more appropriate down the street." His eyes flickered toward a row of tourist souvenir shops selling cheap trinkets and fake leather goods. A heavy silence filled the air. A few wealthy shoppers turned to glance at the scene. Some whispered, others chuckled. Errol stood still for a moment. He wasn't angry. He wasn't embarrassed. He had seen this kind of arrogance before. With a small nod, he turned and walked away. He didn't know that this moment, this quiet rejection, would soon spark one of the biggest lessons in luxury retail history. And when his son Elon Musk found out, the entire world would be watching. As Errol Musk walked away from the store, the sting of rejection settled in, but not for the reason the manager might have thought. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't even about the disrespect. It was about the principle. He had spent a lifetime teaching his children that true worth isn't measured by appearances. He had seen wealth come and go, but what never changed was a person's character. And in that moment, he knew one thing. This store had failed the simplest test of all. Across town, in a sleek, sunlit office overlooking the ocean, Elon Musk's phone buzzed. It was an unexpected call from his father. "Happy birthday, Dad," Elon answered, leaning back in his chair. "Hope you're enjoying the day." There was a pause on the other end. Then, in his usual calm voice, Errol said, "Ever heard of Belvoir and Company?" "The luxury store?" Elon frowned. "Yeah, I think so. Why?" Errol let out a quiet chuckle. "They just turned me away at the door, said I didn't belong." For a second, there was silence. Then a slow, knowing smile crossed Elon's face. He had spent years fighting against elitism, against industries that judged people by surface-level status. And now, they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. He leaned forward, his mind already racing. This wasn't just about his father. This was about something much bigger. "Dad," Elon said, his voice steady, "I think it's time we teach them a lesson." And what happened next? No one saw it coming. Elon Musk wasn't the type to let things slide, especially when it came to arrogance and discrimination. But instead of reacting with anger, he saw an opportunity. He quickly made a call to his assistant. "Find out everything about Belvoir and Company. Who owns it, their policies, and their reputation. I want details now." Meanwhile, back in Cape Town, Errol Musk sat at a quiet cafe, sipping his coffee. He wasn't upset, just amused. He had never needed luxury to prove his worth. But something told him Elon wasn't going to let this go so easily. An hour later, Elon's assistant called back. "You're going to love this," she said. "The store belongs to an international luxury group. They've had multiple complaints before, stories of turning away regular-looking people while rolling out the red carpet for celebrities." Elon leaned back in his chair. Typical. He sent a single tweet. Judging people by their appearance is the fastest way to lose real customers. Some luxury brands still don't get it. Time for a change. His 100 million followers were instantly intrigued. What was Elon Musk up to now? But this was just the beginning. Because Elon wasn't just going to tweet about it, he was going to do something much bigger. And in just 24 hours, the world would witness something they never expected. The tweet spread like wildfire. Within minutes, it had hundreds of thousands of likes and shares. People began speculating, which luxury store was Elon talking about? Who had made the mistake of turning away someone important? Then came the responses. Stories from everyday people flooded in. Customers who had been ignored, judged, or turned away because they didn't look wealthy enough. Some had saved for years to buy something special, only to be treated like they didn't belong. This happened to me at a luxury store in New York. They looked at me like I was invisible. I walked into a high-end boutique in London, and they assumed I was lost. Walked right out. Elon's right. Luxury should be about quality, not arrogance. Meanwhile, inside Belvoir and Company, the store manager Leonard scrolled through his phone. He saw the viral tweet and felt a sinking feeling in his chest. Then, his phone rang. "Leonard, we have a problem," his boss snapped. "Do you know who you just turned away?" Leonard's face went pale. He had no idea. "Errol Musk," his boss said. "Elon Musk's father." For a moment, Leonard couldn't breathe. The world's richest man's father? Before he could react, the phone clicked. His boss had already hung up. Leonard turned to the luxury store's golden glass doors, his heart pounding. Because just outside, the cameras were starting to gather. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, Belvoir and Company woke up to a nightmare. News outlets had picked up the story. Headlines flashed across major media networks. Luxury store rejects Elon Musk's father. What happens next? Shocks everyone. Retail snobbery exposed. Viral tweet puts luxury brand in hot water. Elon Musk takes on the luxury industry. And the internet is watching. At Tesla's headquarters, Elon Musk leaned back in his chair, watching the chaos unfold. His tweet had done its job. Now it was time for action. He dialed a number. "Dad, how do you feel about going back to that store today?" Errol chuckled on the other end. "You want me to give them another chance?" Elon grinned. "Not exactly." Within hours, a convoy of Tesla Model X SUVs rolled through Cape Town's luxury district. Crowds had already gathered outside Belvoir and Company, eager to see what would happen next. And then, the doors of the lead car opened. Errol Musk stepped out. Dressed in the same simple outfit as the day before, he walked calmly toward the store. But this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him, a group of ordinary people followed. Working-class men and women, students and elderly locals. People who had been turned away, ignored, or judged by high-end stores just like this one. The store manager, Leonard, stood at the door, beads of sweat on his forehead. He knew this wasn't just about Errol Musk anymore. This was about something much bigger, and the cameras were rolling. Because in just a few moments, history was about to be made. The hush fell over the crowd as Errol Musk stopped in front of the luxury store's golden doors. The manager, Leonard, hesitated, his usual confidence gone. Errol looked him straight in the eye. "Still closed for a private event?" Leonard swallowed hard. He had no choice now. With trembling hands, he pulled open the doors and stepped aside. The cameras flashed. The crowd held their breath. And then, Errol Musk did something no one expected. He turned to the people behind him, the everyday workers, students, and retirees who had never dreamed of stepping into a store like this. And with a simple nod, he welcomed them inside. The onlookers gasped. The customers inside, dressed in designer suits and dripping in diamonds, turned in shock as ordinary people flooded into the store. The wealthy elite had never shared this space before. The sales associates froze. They didn't know who to serve. A young waitress, still in her uniform, hesitated near the jewelry counter. An elderly woman ran her fingers over a silk scarf, her eyes full of longing. A construction worker, his boots still dusty, studied an expensive leather wallet, the same kind Errol Musk had come to buy. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, and then Errol spoke. His voice was calm, but firm. Luxury isn't just for those who look the part. True wealth isn't measured in designer clothes or expensive watches. It's measured in dignity. The store fell silent. Even Leonard, the once arrogant manager, lowered his gaze. And outside, the crowd was erupting in applause. But the biggest shock? It was coming next. Just as the tension reached its peak, a familiar voice rang out from behind the cameras. Couldn't have said it better myself. The crowd turned, and there he was, Elon Musk. Dressed simply in a black t-shirt and jeans, he walked through the doors of Belvoir and Company, his presence electrifying the room. The sales associates, the wealthy customers, even Leonard himself, all froze. Elon glanced around, taking in the scene. The stunned employees, the everyday people finally getting the attention they deserved. His father standing tall in the center of it all. Then, with a smirk, he pulled out his phone and typed a single tweet. Belvoir and Company is under new management. Gasps filled the room. The manager, Leonard, paled. New management? What did that mean? Elon turned to his father. I made some calls last night. Turns out their parent company wasn't doing too well, so he shrugged. I bought it. The crowd exploded in cheers. The same store that had turned away Errol Musk for not looking rich enough? It was now owned by his own son. Elon looked at the customers, not the elite, but the everyday people who had never felt welcome here. Today everyone shops, and just like that, the barriers crumbled. The nervous sales associates had no choice but to assist every customer with the same courtesy they once reserved for celebrities. The elderly woman bought the silk scarf. The young waitress found a necklace she loved. The construction worker walked out with that luxury wallet, paid for by Errol Musk himself. Leonard, the once arrogant manager, stood frozen as his world collapsed around him, because he had just learned a lesson he would never forget. And the world was watching. The internet exploded within minutes. Videos of Elon Musk buying the luxury brand flooded social media. Millions watched as everyday people, not just the ultra-rich, walked into Belvoir and Company and were treated like VIPs. News headlines dominated the media. Elon Musk just changed the luxury industry forever. Elon Musk's father gets rejected, so he buys the whole store. A lesson in humility, the day luxury became about dignity. But this wasn't just about one store. Elon made an announcement the next day. Belvoir and Company would undergo a complete transformation. No more gatekeeping. No more judgment based on appearance. Instead, a luxury experience open to anyone who appreciated quality, not just those who looked the part. The move sparked a global conversation. Other brands took notice. Some even scrambled to change their own policies. And as for Errol Musk, he never needed revenge. Just the satisfaction of knowing that for once the world had been reminded of something important. True worth isn't found in designer labels. It's found in how we treat others. This story is more than just about Elon Musk. It's about all of us. How many times have we judged someone based on their appearance? How often do we forget that real wealth isn't in what we wear, but in how we treat people? So the next time you walk past someone who doesn't look the part, remember this story, because kindness and respect, that's the real luxury. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, subscribe for more eye-opening stories, and share this video to remind the world that true worth isn't measured in money but in character. Thanks for watching.